Want to frolic? Go here. At cityfrolicking.com, you'll find a copious amount of ways to learn how to be an Ace 1 degenerate. So let's frolic and learn how to waste time and be a bad influence. cityfrolicking.com. Hi everybody, welcome to another spine-tingling, electrifying tutorial where I'll be escorting you through the vertical web browser and computer screen template. And I can assure you there will be no frolicking here, but we'll find pleasure in keyframing and customizing the ad you just saw. So first step, we're going to double click our first placeholder and you'll see layer 6 here. This will be the text you'll double click. So let's say I have a client that wants to advertise their website and they need a little sizzle video, a hype video, just to promote and tell that story. So the first phrase I'm going to change from the placeholder would be "wanna frolic." It's a fair question. Now the goal here is to show you how to customize this into really anything you want. So use your imagination while I'm going through this process. Now let's say you want your text layer to be a little bigger, a little more visible on a phone screen. So I'll just hit S and scale that up. And if you don't like the computer screen looking effect, you can always just hide that layer. And I'll zoom out by pressing the period key. So let's take a look at our results. I'm going to hit N for end, hit 0, and press the spacebar. Now we can see our animation playing in real time. So that looks wonderfully degenerative to me. Let's go back to our master timeline, which if you get lost, you can always go back to find out where you're at. Hopping over to the next comp, angle 1, let's customize this layer with something relevant to our message. And because our target audience isn't honorable or uncorrupt, we're going to guide them to a site that will allow them to continue on their mission of criminal nefarity. So let's hit 0 and preview our amazing work. Go here. Going back to the master timeline, we can preview our 2 edits to this template. I'm going to hit N for end, hit 0, and press the spacebar. So this is a great way to just preview quick little sections by adjusting your work comp area, hitting 0 and pressing the spacebar. Now let's make an edit to the URL web address and drop in a screenshot of our website. Double click on the comp here, come down to the placeholder, enter website address here, and you can see this is just one long camera move. After the URL is typed in, the camera pulls out and reveals our website, which right now is just the Oshiva website placeholder. So let's double click on the placeholder and drop in our website graphic, which could be a JPEG, PSD, PNG, could be a video. Whatever you want could be displayed inside this placeholder here, even though it's a browser window. I'm going to tweak the position of my PSD document here. And just to let you know, this is a real website for a real client. There are people who actually want to learn how to frolic, want to learn how to waste time, smoke cigarettes, and die of lung cancer. However, we're concerned about changing the background color. The green color that was carefully chosen by the brand ambassador of City Frolicking. But before we do that, let's actually change our URL. These frolickers need a roadmap. So let's go back to our web browser composition here, double click, and come to our placeholder that's on top of the browser placeholder, and you'll see a cursor layer and a text layer. I'm going to hit U to reveal the keyframes here, and you'll see it's just a range selector animating the text on. Of course, we'll type in what we want, and you can see the cursor moves due to a really cool expression. You don't have to animate that cursor. It just follows the last character in the text by some expression math wizardry. Now this template has a cool feature where you can change the colors globally. The blue color is obviously the blue color you see in the browser, and the orangish color is the color of the cursor. So instead of changing the colors independently one by one, they're all connected to the color control comp, so that you don't have to arduously go in and change the color of the cursor and the browser background by clicking on the layer and changing the color. Yuck. But first we have to identify the color, and I'm just going to use a little trick I do. I've done it in Photoshop, all sorts of different programs where you just gotta sample the color somehow. I'm going to come up to the character panel and use the little dropper tool to find the hue of our frolicking brand. So now we have a source where we can use that source and see that source and pick that source by using our color control layers in the color control composition. I'm going to select color control 1, use the eyedropper tool, and click the green hue. Now our color control layer is affecting all of our browser compositions with that lovely lime green color. What about the cursor though? Right now that's orange. I got a 2-color strategy going on here, but let's just use the same lime green color. So our background and our cursor are the same color. Now every single cursor and every single comp is lime green, thanks to our global color controls. So you get the picture. You can go through every comp and edit the text, drop in your website screenshot or video, and render out and go from there. But these templates are very adaptable, very flexible if you know your way around After Effects. So let's say our client requests a 15-second vertical video for Instagram. Could be for TikTok, but I just know you get 15 seconds on Instagram. Well, what do? Well, let's duplicate our timeline. Select the timeline, hit Command D to duplicate. Hit Return to edit the title. Start typing in the new title for your composition. Vertical Instagram story. What we're going to do is use the time remapping function inside of After Effects to, make a long story short by omitting our time into a shorter form. So here we are at 15 seconds. Man, how do we tell a story in 15 seconds with long compositions and long drawn out messaging? We know that human beings have the attention spans of squirrels, so we got to capture their contemplation full tilt. I'm going to drag the vertical story video over to the front of our tabs, just so it's quicker to access. So I know that, let me fit this to the window here so we can see it. I know that we're using just browser camera option 1. So I'm going to close down all these unnecessary tabs here. You can always find those up in the pre-comps. So now we've simplified our tab display. So we know that our web browser animation is just way too long for this 15-second clip that we need to deliver. Our text animation in the beginning is also too long. We need to cut the timing of these animations pretty much in half. Let's use the time remapping function. So right-click the composition, go to time and enable time remapping. Now we get a couple keyframes here. Those keyframes are based on the length of the composition. So we're going to want to create keyframes here to adjust the timing. I'm going to zoom in here, use the spacebar to enable the hand to drag wherever you want without moving a bunch of shit. And I'm going to come over to this little dot and click it. I just created a keyframe here. Essentially, that's the place in time that we want to speed up. So let's take that keyframe and drag it to the left. So now our text animation is much faster. Now we can trim our composition and move the second composition a little closer to the beginning. First, let's trim this. Click and drag the second composition, angle 1. Right click, enable time remapping. Let's shorten this one. Click the dot. Go to a spot where we think we want this to finish. Drag the keyframe over. Hit N on the keyboard to adjust our work area. Hit 0 for a real-time RAM preview. So now what we had in 6 seconds is able to play out in 3 seconds due to time remapping. And this is just a great technique to use to shorten compositions, to get them to fit where you want them to fit quickly. Let's drag over our web browser animation. Shaved off a bunch of time. There's a lot going on in this one. So we got to be careful with how we time remap this composition. We got our URL and our pullout to reveal the website. So let's see what we can do with time remapping here. Now, this is important. If you create a keyframe in the middle, we want to make sure our last keyframe is also highlighted. So when we drag the first keyframe over, the animation that is happening in the middle of the second and last keyframe is normal speed, because we only want to speed up certain parts. Like this beginning here that shoots up super quick. Now this URL that's typing needs to be much faster. We're at about 5 seconds. Need to cut that time down as well. And I might actually take that last keyframe that we see and move it to the left. I feel like it will be okay to just modify the whole speed. So I'm going to click that last keyframe and drag this to the left so that the whole animation is just happening much quicker, and we'll see how this plays out. So our text is typing on much quicker. The pullout's much quicker. And I think that's a pretty good time. However, I think the exit needs to be adjusted so that the browser is much faster than it is right now. We want it to just whip away really quick to reveal some text, which right now you see the Oshava logo. I'm going to drag that keyframe to the right a little bit so that this whips away faster. So now the total animation runtime is about 10 seconds total before we wipe away. Still plenty of time to make some adjustments here. Now you can either throw in your logo, but obviously we're telling a story, so I want to create some punchy statements for the ending. So let's delete both of these logo placeholders and create a text layer. To layer new text, type in frolic. I can't remember if this is the way to spell frolic. I think it might not have a K, but whatever. It's the concept that matters. My real client will correct me later on this real project after I send out a real review. I'm just adjusting the text here. I kind of want a bolder, more punchier look. Go back to the main timeline to preview a little section that we just adjusted. And now this thing wipes across the screen, revealing our text much quicker. And I just realized one more thing I need to do. We lost our computer screen effect because our text layer is not underneath the adjustment layers that it needs to be under. There we go. You zoom in, now we got that computer screen effect. Hit preview. There we go. That's looking good. So, we still got some story to tell. We can do a lot in 5 seconds. But I actually think it's not enough time. I want some more punchier statements. So I'm going to make some tweaks here to our placeholders in the beginning. I want the text to animate on much quicker. I'm going to drag everything to the left once I make those keyframe adjustments. So now our animation is at 10 seconds and 12 frames. I'm gonna hit the right bracket to chop that composition to end it. And just for my sake, I'm struggling to see where my 15-second mark is, so I'm actually gonna create a marker here just to give me a visual so I can see as I'm working where I want this to end. So to add a new marker, go to Layer, Markers, Add Marker. And I'm right at 15 seconds. And it didn't do what I wanted it to do. I had the web browser composition selected and added a marker there. I want to deselect. I have no layers selected. Go to Layer, Add Marker. Okay, now I've got one at the top. That's where I wanted it. I'm going to right click, go to Settings, and give myself a reminder of what this is. End of video. And that marker then displays up there. So now I know I have a little bit more of a visual as I see things play out where it needs to end. Okay, let's add some punchy statements now. We've directed our target audience to where we want them to go. Now we just gotta convince them with a couple more reasons of why they should go to this website. I'm gonna drag this placeholder over and delete this web browser animation. That's just an option. We don't really need those anymore. We just want the punchy computer screen typing to use as statements to create our call to action. So let's double click to get into our computer screen text angle 2 composition, and I'm going to drag some video in. This is where we can get creative. This wasn't demonstrated on the preview. We only saw text, but you can throw anything you want into these compositions. I'm going to scale up the video I just dropped in, move it to a place where I feel like the cinematographer captured his best cinematic moment. Go back to our main timeline, and you can see text over video. So that's an option here. Of course, we need to modify the text. We can't communicate abominable miscreancy with our default text. Let's type in something that will attract heinousness. And our target audience wants to waste time by dancing in front of vehicles. So I think wasting time is a good phrase. Waste time. Yeah. I know I was supposed to come home when the street lights turn on, but no, I'm staying out, Ma. So I think we convinced him. I think this could be much quicker too. Or we leave it as is and just trim the comp. Yeah, I think that's better. Now, how do we creatively jump to the next composition without hard cutting? Hard cutting is lame in this scenario. I mean, we're in After Effects. Anything is possible. So what if our first text layer wipes off and reveals the next one without hard cutting? Well, let's click that layer we want to wipe off. Go to P, create a keyframe, move down the timeline, and click the dot, move our composition off screen, go to Keyframe Assistant, hit Easy Ease, go to the graph editor, make this sucker wipe off, starting slowly to quickly. Now let's preview this. I'm going to place the playhead right about there, hit B. Very cool. So now it just shoots off screen and reveals our next punchy statement. But I think this can look cooler. Let's enable motion blur. It's a little more organic looking now. Now let's edit our next placeholder here so we can continue to resonate with our audience that celebrates defiancy. And we also need to find the right video clip that represents our target audience. I think we should just use the same hero of our story. Let's see, which one of these do I want to use? So many options, so many great representations of our responsible human beings. I think the one at the second one here works good. Let me drop that in there. Now let's find our miscreant hero. There you are. And we're getting to the close here. Gotta really hook them. This website needs 100,000 subscriptions by tomorrow. So need the proper statements to make sure this video is a success. You can't just do video without results. You have to hit the mark. You don't want to miss the mark, which is why this video went through a really arduous process during the creative brief phase. We know that eyes are windows into the soul, and I'm really missing the emotion there on her face. Let's drag our text layer down here. There we go. Now we get the message. We get the earnestness shown in her countenance. Back to the main timeline. Let's preview what we got here. Waste time, be a bad influence, looking good. So there we go. We just used 2 compositions here and created punchy statements. Now we need our call to action. We're going to end the last few seconds of our awesome Instagram story to remind them of what they need to do, where they need to go. Because right now, these miscreants offer no harm to anyone until they gather the knowledge that they are seeking. Now, where do we want our URL to come in? Probably about 13 seconds. I'm thinking there's going to be a voiceover to this. But we need to creatively transition this shot, this composition, off frame. Let's do it with our position keyframes. Let's wipe it up instead of to the right this time. Now let's give our movement some organic quality. Highlight both keyframes, right click, go to keyframe assistant, select easy ease. Adjust this graph editor to go from fast to slow, so it whoops away nice and quick. And reveals our URL, which will then change to, what's the website again? Oh yeah, cityfrolicking.com. So I think this is spelled with a K. Frolicking. It's an adverb. I think this is a little big. I'm going to hit S on the layer, drag this to the left to make it smaller, come back to our vertical Instagram story, and actually I want to use this analog TV. I'm going to click the layer, make sure it's highlighted, hit left bracket, and that snaps the video to the playhead's position, which is really great shortcut. So I want this to just end with the static because I think that'll be mesmerizing and really stupefy our target audience into taking action. But we can also subliminally hit them with one more video image, I think. And has to be the right one. Which one shall it be? Yes. Some hand clapping, some celebration. Dancing on rooftop. There's our guy smoking a cigarette. It's such a great example. He's cool because he smokes cigarettes, so we're going to throw that in there. I wish that I was as cool as him. Ugh. Goals. So let's preview this sucker. Want to frolic? Go here. Yeah, type in their website. Oh man, so much to learn. I can't wait to dive in. Yeah, I want to frolic. I want to waste time. Yeah, be bad influence, smoke. Yeah. Oh, I'm already sold. Actually, I'm not sold yet. No way. Nope. There's one more thing I want to do. I want to drop in a video right at the end. So the static is cool, but I'm all about maximizing assets, right? This is an asset that you can use creatively. Don't just use these templates as drag and drop and render out and you think that you can't ever use them again. No. I'm going to drop a video in at the very end and use more imaginative psychology in creative visual storytelling to command neural pathway connections to our target audience. But what moment in this clip is right? What has gravity, influence, and priority? I think it's paramount to understand the importance of providing visceral imagery right to the very end. Every frame matters. And as a motion graphic designer, you need to recognize that. Every frame matters. And I, my son, recognize that. I'm going to click this clip and select a blending mode that I feel is appropriate for our ending. So, yes, we have TV static, but we're also seeing the video underneath that we just dropped in, blended in using a blending mode. So now, we have our idea fleshed out, ready to be rendered off. How do we do that? Well, what if it's finalized? How do we upload this to the story reel on Instagram? How do we prepare it? Well, we just got to render this thing off. I just like to use the render queue. And after we render this off, we can then export it using QuickTime for a more web-friendly codec. So let's add to render queue. Come down here to the arrow and pick just a high-quality render codec. Choose a destination. Yep. We're good. Hit render. Off we go. Now, this animation is going to render to the place that you designated on your hard drive. Once you hear that lovely noise, come back to the Finder, and you'll see, well, there it is. Double click. Now, we need to export this to a more friendly format for your camera roll. You don't want a ProRes file on your phone. Those are just way too big. They take way too long to convert. we just want like, high quality MP4. So in QuickTime, I like to open up QuickTime. They have these great presets. You export as 4K. Well, I don't want to overwrite this file. Let's just rename this something else. Web. We'll just tag it with web. So we'll have two different files. This will be our smaller size file for our camera roll. Now, you can text it to yourself. I like to throw it in Dropbox myself. Now, save it to your camera roll. Once that's completed, it'll show up in your roll. Go to Instagram or Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Hit your story. My keyboard. And there's my 15-second clip up in the left-hand corner. I'm going to click it. There you go. You can see it's previewing in your story. Super cool vertical video. This is Cassidy Beischer signing off. I am not an Ace 1 degenerate. I'm going places, people. Oshava.com. Want a frolic? Go here. At cityfrolicking.com, you'll find a copious amount of ways to learn how to be an Ace 1 degenerate. So let's frolic and learn how to waste time and be a bad influence. cityfrolicking.com.